that. And all right, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Expanding Opportunities Through Innovative Partnerships. I'm excited to see you all here today. Before we get started with the content, I think we've got some housekeeping business to take care of. I will turn it over to Samantha Haynes, our Arts Education Assistant.
Hello, welcome everyone. We're so excited that you all are here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to attend our webinar. A few housekeeping reminders. Please remember to mute your device unless you are speaking to the group, although we do want a lot of interaction during this webinar. So if you do have a question or a comment, feel free to use the raise your hand icon. And we will call on you as soon as we see that and it is appropriate time. If you don't feel comfortable unmuting yourself, you can also always just drop us a note down in the chat box. Make sure you have some paper and pen or however you like to take notes these days nearby, but don't stress about writing down everything you see on your screen because we will be recording this meeting and the presentation slides will be shared at an early date. We will be using Mended Meter for this presentation. So if you are accessing this webinar through your laptop, you can go ahead and pull out your phone or your tablet and go to menti.com. And it'll take you to a screen that looks very similar to Zoom where you'll be asked to put in a code and we'll be providing that code for you in just a few slides. Mended Meter is an app where you can get anonymous feedback and host some anonymous polls. So we'll be using it for some of our discussion later on in our webinar. So if you want to go ahead and pull up menti.com on your phone or tablet, that would be a good idea. And then last but not least, there will be a designated time for a question and answer, and feel free to put those questions in the Zoom chat box. Once you pull up Menti and you input the code, there will also be an option for you to put questions in Menti. But if Zoom is easier for you, that's also fine. I'll be monitoring the Zoom chat box and we can answer any questions that arise throughout the presentation. I think that is all I have. Before we move on, are there any questions? All right, then I am going to hand it over now to Chandra, our Deputy Director, and she's going to do a welcome and an overview of Oklahoma Arts Council. Thanks, Chandra.
Thank you, Samantha. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I just want to echo everyone's comments and welcoming you all and being with us here today. I'm Chandra Boyd. I'm the Deputy Director for the Oklahoma Arts Council, the official state agency for the support and development of the arts in Oklahoma. I am very proud to work with our team to advance arts education initiatives across communities statewide as part of our mission to lead, cultivate, and amplify the transformative power of the arts for all Oklahomans and their communities. Arts education is critical in expanding access to the arts for more Oklahomans, and we could not fulfill our mission without dedicated folks like you all who have a passion for connecting people and communities through the arts. As teaching artists and presenters of teaching artists, you play a vital role in this work, and we are so grateful for your attendance today. I hope you leave this webinar feeling recharged with new ideas for ways to partner, new contacts, and new inspiration to continue doing the great work you do year-round. Thank you again for being here with us virtually today. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Erica Wilhite, who is our Arts Learning and Communities Director, for a quick plug of another upcoming webinar. Erica.
Thank you, Chandra. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to invite you to join us again on Zoom on April the 21st at 2 p.m. for a creative aging discussion about the direct health benefits of movement and dance on the aging process. This conversation will be led by creative aging experts, Dr. Julie Ober-Allen, who is assistant professor at the Department of Health and Exercise Science, also the director of the Stress and Health Disparities Lab, alongside with Erica Portell, a teaching artist and a community engagement manager at the Oklahoma City Ballet, who has run a long-running program, Golden Swans. So if you can join us to learn about the qualitative and quantitative data you can provide to your community to support creative aging programs. And you'll also take away some feedback on how to retain and recruit creative aging participants. And of course, learn more about the creative aging programs that are happening in your state. I hope to see you then. I'm handing it back to Jennifer now.
Thank you, Erica. I hope you guys can join us on the 21st. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jennifer Allen Barron. I'm the Arts Education Director here at the Oklahoma Arts Council. And the idea for this webinar came about as we noticed an unusual trend among a few prospective school grant applicants. We had a few new sites come in and gain access to our online grant system. They wanted to host a residency, but they were unable to locate a teaching artist. Ultimately, some of these schools decided to withdraw their applications. In cases like this, I refer sites first to our teaching artist roster, but this time a few sites were not successful in finding someone to travel to their communities. And I know that there are teaching artists out there working independently or with nonprofits, and many of these educators are doing their work somewhat in isolation. As a state agency, I wondered, as a person who works at a state agency, I wondered, how can we do a better job connecting these teaching artists to other teaching artists, to other presenters, and connecting them with additional resources and potential work? We decided that a virtual webinar, such as this one, would be a great way to start this conversation. Today, we're presenting some of the resources available to you from the Oklahoma Arts Council, a panel featuring 4 very different models of arts learning programs to hopefully inspire you to think differently, and some time for interaction and feedback so that we can hear from you. I'm so happy that you all have made some time in your schedule to join us, and I'm excited to get started. Next slide, please. All right. So before getting into the agenda, before getting into the content, let's look at the agenda. We're doing great because we've already covered the welcome and the webinar overview. Check, check. Next, Arts Education Assistant Samantha Haynes is going to introduce the interactive tool she mentioned, Mended Meter. And some of you may have used that in other webinars and other Zoom types of meetings, but it's very exciting, and she's going to tell us all about it. After that, I will briefly present a few of our agency's grant programs and other resources. And then after that, we will move on to our panel, a group I am very excited to present. Following that, we will have time for question and answer and discussion. Are there any questions at this point before we move right ahead? All right, then I will turn the floor back to Samantha. Take it away. Samantha, you may be muted.
So sorry. I saw that Danny Gordon had raised his hand. Did he have a question? No? Okay. Danny, if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat box or raise your hand again. Just wanted to say again, we are so glad you're here and that you've taken time out of your day to participate in our webinar. So we're going to start things off by learning a little bit about one another using Mended Meter for practice. So here is our first Mended Meter slide. I'm going to move this over. So you'll see up at the top of your screen, there's a code that you can input. So you can go ahead and do that now. When you go to menti.com, it should look like this. And then you just put in the code. And then once you put in the code, we'll direct you to the question, where are you from? And I'm just curious to see where all we are attending. OKC, what up? Where all we are attending this webinar from. We have Canton, Oklahoma, fantastic. Yukon, Tulsa, and Pawhuska. Fantastic. Mustang Public Schools. Is that Patton, Oklahoma? We have 2 participants that have raised a hand now. Amazing. Oh, Alfonso's here. Hello, Alfonso. Alfonso, you can unmute yourself if you have a question.
Samantha,
Just an
I think
FYI.
Yeah,
sorry. Attendees cannot unmute themselves. All questions will have to go through the Q&A or the chat. So just FYI.
Thank you, Scott. So they can use the chat though?
They can both use the chat and the question and answer, but question and answer probably the best place because I'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Scott.
there's also an option to unmute. You can select somebody if they have their hand raised and then unmute them. So I see that Alfonso has his hand raised. So Alfonso, would you like to make a comment or raise a question? Or not?
Yeah, I'm also getting word too, Jen, from Brooke, that the chat is disabled on their end.
Oh, I see Leslie has said, there we go. I think our chat box, or I think our question and answer just popped up. Alfonso saying he needs the code for Mended Meter. Alfonso, the code for Mended Meter should be at the top of your screen. And Leslie, it's pronounced, Leslie says, hi, Samantha. It is pronounced Payden, and it's about 25 minutes southeast of Stroud. Amazing. Thank you, Leslie. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Leslie.
I do not see that code at the top of my screen.
Thank you. Let me see. Nick has said the code is 638805887. And I'll read it one more time in just a second. 638805887. Awesome. Is there anyone else who's having trouble accessing the Menti code? We all good? I'm going to go ahead and close the Q&A so I can see. So cool. Awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and go to our next slide. Our next slide, we are looking at a little bit of data. So you will be asked on the Menti, you shouldn't have to input another code. Once you put in the code one time, it should be good for the rest of the webinar. You can go on Menti and answer, what type of art do you practice? And if you practice more than one genre of art, you can put in multiple options. Looks like we've got some visual and media, dance, arts integration, traditional and folk, music, theater and drama. I wonder which one's going to be the highest. Looks like visual media is leading the way here. Amazing. Fantastic. Thank y'all so much. Oh, we have some literary coming in. Awesome. Theater and drama. Visual media is still winning though. So awesome. It's so great to see so many different genres of art represented at our webinar. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. For this next slide, we're going to be returning to these questions at the end of our presentation, but just to start the ball rolling and before our panel comes to speak, we're wondering, what is a need that you have in your life as a working artist? So this could be as a teaching artist working in arts education, or also working independently in your genre of art. This should be a short answer, so you can type in a sentence or just a word or a thought. Let's see what people are thinking. What are some needs we have in the community of Oklahoma and all the other communities that we listed earlier? Oh, and somebody said in the chat that they are from Sapulpa. Who was that? Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. More time, always. Thank you. Awareness. Oh, I love that. Collaboration. Yes, that's why we're having this webinar. We are wanting more collaboration between artists. a supportive community that makes art access a priority. I love that. Places to go practice drum circles. Ah, very specific. I love it. And musical experiences. Funding. I love it. Balance, opportunities for residencies during the summer, winter break, and spring break. I feel that sometimes as teaching artists, you are tied to that school calendar. Community building. It feels lonely out here. I'm so glad you're at this webinar. Hopefully that takes away a little bit of the loneliness. Partnerships. Yes. Funding for supplies. That's fantastic. We're going to talk some more about funding for supplies here in just a little bit. Then for dance events. Yes. Amazing. Access to more of today's youth to mentor and create into future artists and entrepreneurs. Awesome. A need to express myself with visual awareness. Amazing. Thank you all so much for your responses. We'll hold on to this and revisit it a little bit later when we get into our discussion. Are there any others? I think if I do move on to the next slide, if you think of something else, you should be able to go back and still add to this slide if you want. But I'm going to keep things moving along because we have a lot to cover today. So our next slide, oops, there we go. What is a goal you have set for yourself as a working artist? So let's see if we can identify, before our panel speaks, see if we can identify a need that we have, but also a goal that we have set for ourselves. This one might feel a little harder. Ooh, I love it. 3 residencies this summer in visual arts. We can hook you up with that. I think Regina could too. You might want to talk to her after this webinar. To have more fun. Yes, absolutely. Art is fun. To get teaching artists to my school and all others in the state. Yes, we want to see teaching artists in every school in Oklahoma. To be a light for my students and guide them through a positive art making experience. Yes. To reach more students, to teach art education. I love teaching art. Yes. We love teaching artists who are passionate about teaching art. Balance nonprofit job with teaching artists work. I didn't actually write that, but I feel that 100%. I work in administration. I also teach. So yeah, there's definitely a balance there. To work on creating a work of art each day. Ooh, ambitious. I love it. To help shift the social construct that restrict the underprivileged. Yes. So good. I'm loving these responses. To enjoy the process and have the students enjoy and appreciate what they can do instead of them saying they can't do it. Oh, yes. Yes, I love that. Kids are so hard on themselves these days. They want to give up before they've even started. No, we can't have that. Anything else? So good. Thank you so much for all of your responses. This is fantastic. I think that's my last slide. Let me double check. Yes, now I'm going to hand back over to Jennifer, and she is going to talk a little bit about the grants that Oklahoma Arts Council has. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Samantha. It was great to see some of those responses and see kind of where people are at as they come into this webinar today. So I think that most people who are familiar with our agency first encounter us through our grant making. That may be not true all the time, but I have a feeling it's true a lot of the time. But even longtime applicants might not know that we've been developing some new grants in recent years, and some of our other grants we've been revising and continuing to improve those. I'm not going to go deep into how to apply for these at this time, but I do want to tell you a little bit about each of these grants and how they're used to expand access to arts learning and arts education. So small grant support. For our arts learning, arts education programs, we break these into two categories. Arts learning in communities. Those programs are overseen by Erica Wilhite, who mentioned our upcoming creative aging and movement webinar coming up on April 21st. Arts learning in communities programs take place outside of the school setting and outside of typical school time. They might be after school programs, summertime, winter break. They also serve individuals outside of the pre-K to 12 age range. So they might serve early childhood, they might serve adults, they might serve older adults, and they might serve students in middle school or high school, just not within their school day experience. So a wide variety of arts learning programs fall under the arts learning and communities umbrella. Arts education in schools, as the name implies, refers to programs that take place during the school day and usually in the school building. And these can be artists' residency types of programs, professional development programs, and a few other programs that are strictly related to that in-school hands-on arts instruction. We have a variety of programs for alternative education schools. So if you work with an alt-ed school, if you know of an alt-ed school in your district, we have a specific group of grants just for alt-ed schools. Classroom supply grants is something that we launched about 4 years ago. Schools can apply for this to receive up to $500 in reimbursement for the costs of consumable art supplies used in fine arts classrooms. When we say fine arts classrooms, we mean dance, drama, theater, music, visual arts, any of the performing or visual arts and media arts. Capital Art Field Trip Grants. This was a grant program that has been very popular, but it's been on hiatus for a few years as the Capitol has been undergoing some pretty extensive renovations. Now the Capitol is reopened, there's beautiful art on the walls, and we would love for your students to come and see that firsthand. We also have some lessons that tie that artwork to Oklahoma history and some great tour guides that can help your students learn all about the story of Oklahoma through the arts. And last but not least, our newest grant for schools is the Performing Arts Experience Grant for Alternative Education. These grants can pay for either an alternative education school group to travel, take a field trip to see a fine arts performance, or they can pay for a performer to come to the school and lead a performance. So a few different opportunities there. Next slide, please. So through all of these grants, this is our agency's total annual reach to students. Over 170,000 students are served by these programs every year. And when we say served by these programs, a lot of the times we're talking about they're served by teaching artists just like you. These are students that are receiving hands-on arts instruction in a variety of ways, in a variety of locations, counties all throughout the state. So we're really excited and really proud that we have this kind of reach and we can share that with you all. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our grants are open to organizations, nonprofits, schools, libraries, and a few other types of organizations. Individuals cannot apply for grants. However, a lot of teaching artists do find work and compensation through grant-funded programs by being listed on the Oklahoma Arts Council's teaching artist roster. As I mentioned earlier on, whenever a school or organization reaches out for an idea for an artist, the roster is always the first place I will refer that school or other organization. The teaching artist roster is an independent resource. Schools, nonprofits, and others can refer to this resource as needed as the situation may arise, and they can find a teaching artist for their site. We also have a performing artist roster. I wanted to mention that that's a little different. We do have a few artists who are listed on both rosters, but right now I'm just talking about the teaching artist roster. I'm going to focus there. Artists who are accepted to the roster are not considered employees of the Oklahoma Arts Council, and we don't contract with these artists directly to provide arts education services, but we do seek ways to publicize their work and connect them with opportunities as much as we can. As time has gone on, However, we have seen fewer and fewer applicants for the roster, and every year a few more artists might choose to leave the roster for a variety of reasons. But at the same time, the need for and interest in teaching artists has remained the same and has even grown. We've seen requests come in that are pretty specific. Requests for artists who live in specific rural areas, requests for artists who are bilingual, requests for artists who can teach a specific art form, or even within visual arts, requests for artists that might teach a specific kind of visual art, like printmaking or ceramics. Increasingly, we're unable to find artists to fulfill all of these needs. That, I hope, is where you come in. I'd like to encourage each of you to consider applying for this roster. If you can demonstrate experience as an educator and skill and expertise as an artist, this may be a great fit for you. And there's more to the application process. ... Next slide, please. And you can find more here or by visiting our website at arts.ok.gov. Often we find that teaching artists are the drivers behind starting relationships with schools or other sites that may last for years. We've seen and funded some projects that have paired an artist with the same site for more than 10 years, and other sites which prefer to present a variety of projects. They might be regular applicants, but bring different kinds of arts experiences to their students all the time. Either one of those is great. Artists on our rosters can and do hold teaching positions elsewhere. You can have a listing on the roster and still have ongoing work with one or more organizations. And because this is not a direct employment situation, we hope that you do. We hope that being listed on the roster is just one more tool in your toolbox that can help you establish a sustainable art career in the state. If you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to answer that. My contact information will be provided at the end. But that is all I have to say about the roster at the moment. Next, I would like to bring Samantha back to introduce our panel.
Thank you, Jennifer. We are so excited for our panel today. Thank you so much, everyone who has agreed to be on our panel. We are very excited to be hearing from you. First, we will hear from Regina Kenton. She is the Art Tech Director at OK State Department of Education. Next, we'll hear from Randy Tinker-Smith, Executive Director of Dancemaker Academy in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Next, we'll hear from Gregory McPherson II, Founder and Director of Poetry and Chill OKC. And finally, we'll be hearing from Nick Cottle, the All Access Arts Director, Arts Council OKC. First up is Regina. A little bit about Regina. She is the project manager for the Oklahoma course Access Art Tech Grant, which was awarded to the Oklahoma State Department of Education in October 2020. She previously served 11 years as an orchestra director and instructional coach, while also working with organizations like the Oklahoma Summer Arts Institute and Putnam City's Silver Strings. She is a cellist in a local wedding quartet, Simpre, did I say that right? Simpre Strings. She is grateful to serve in this current role to restore or expand fine arts access to corners of the state to provide a well-rounded education and empower Oklahoma's youth. Welcome, Regina. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself, anything you want to add to that bio, and tell us a little bit about your program.
Oh, I would love to. Bio pretty much covers it. So I started as a project manager under the direction of Tiffany Neal, Levi Patrick, now Debbie Enos, back in 2020. And so what we've done is taken the course access, which is to provide courses or expand courses to Oklahoma students in the fine arts. And 6 states were actually awarded this grant, but we are one of 2 that chose to focus on the fine arts. And that has actually proven to be really beneficial for us as we're doing something different and providing more than just courses for states. We're also providing them a packaged program, which includes our teaching artists. And within the first year, we realized that teaching artists really are the crux of what makes this program work. And so we've been very fortunate to have a great lineup of teaching artists in the fields of visual arts, music, drama, and dance to support schools in sort of a year-round fine arts program where they attend or travel to a school site once or twice a week. and offer fine arts programs in terms of lessons and then arts experiences at the end of the month, or for a high school group, 3 times a semester. So those are one of the things that I really wanted to bring to the table and to this panel here to maybe talk more about as we have more questions and get a better sense for the partnerships that we provide and work with, especially when it pertains to teaching artists.
Thank you, Regina. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to ask here, or should we move on to our next speaker?
Let's move on and have all the panelists introduce their work a little bit, and then we can dive into the questions.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I was also going to say, as our panelists are introducing themselves, if you do have questions, you can go back to menti.com, and underneath where it'll say where you can put input information, there is a Q&A button, and you can push that button and record a question at any time as they are presenting. All right, thank you so much, Regina. We are gonna move on to Randy Tinker Smith at Dancemaker Academy. A little bit about Randy. In 2012, Randy Tinker Smith produced a brand new ballet depicting the history of the Osage Nation, which was partially funded by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. The ballet, Wazazi, had its world premiere in Oklahoma, and it's gone on to perform at the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. in March of 2013, and Festival of Families in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Papal visit. In 2014, through the prompting of many people in the community, Dancemaker Academy was created to provide ballet training in rural Osage County and to carry on the legacies of renowned Osage ballerinas Maria and Marjorie Tall Chief. Welcome, Randy Tinker Smith.
Randy, I believe you're muted.
Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate being here and getting to hear all of the speakers and learn from you all too. And when I heard some music. I was working at the Osage Tribal Museum, and what our head researcher was writing music called The Journey. It was music about the journey of the Osage people from Arkansas, Missouri to Kansas to here, and with all the treaties that happened and how we ended up here. And when I heard it, the first thing I thought was that needs to be a ballet. Why did I think that? Well, my daughter was raised in ballet in Atlanta, Georgia. She went to North Carolina School of the Arts, and so ballet, and I went to school for interior design. So art has always been a part of my life. And I had just prayed that I could have an idea to do something in the arts. I wanted to do, it's my life. I want to live in the arts. And that's when I heard the music was the very next day. So I said, okay, I'm going to write a ballet, which is crazy because I have never danced ballet in my life. And one thing I learned during that time was one of the other people working at the museum, he's an artist and he never went full time. And it always bothered me. Why aren't you full time and get out of here? Go do your artwork. But it takes people, it takes partnerships. You can't do it alone. And I'm more on the organizational side. And whereas my daughter's the director of dance now, and the town asked us to open a school. It wasn't a smart business decision in a 3,500 population rural reservation town. But ultimately, I think art saves lives, and we are all on a certain mission. And so the longer we've been here now, March will be 10 years with the school. And we're constantly doing mission work. And through the pandemic, I know for a fact that some of our children are still alive today because dance and art was here in Pawhuska. So this year, one of the goals we have, we're going to bring in for our summer camps, which are always so much fun, specialists, teachers who can teach different kinds of dance. And we're going to have someone coming in. Well, Samantha, we're going to ask you to come and teach some choreography, or teach how to write choreography. Things that little Native kids in a little tiny community Well, Jenna was in Atlanta and never got a class in choreography till she was at college. So it's something that we're offering things here in a little bitty town that's not available to even the richest, biggest cities often. And that's where everyone on this call, we're partnered on this mission. We want people to have art in their lives. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Randy. We're so glad you're here. Next, we're going to be hearing from Gregory. Gregory is an Oklahoma native, an artist, poet, business owner, and founder of Poetry and Chill OKC and Poetry Chill OKC Kids. Poetry and Chill was inspired by Gregory's time in the Los Angeles poetry scene. He wanted to bring that world back to his hometown of OKC. Poetry and Chill was created on July 29th, 2017. Poetry and Chill Kids was created in October 2018 and became a nonprofit organization in February 2020. Gregory and his organization lead hands-on workshops in schools and community settings across Oklahoma City, including one in association with OCPD. These workshops feature built-in opportunities for cultural reflection and self-expression via writing and oral performance. The goal of the Poetry and Chill process is to engage, encourage, and empower students and their families by connecting them with literacy through performance, poetry, literary writing, and social justice. Gregory's work through Poetry and Chill has been featured widely in local media, including OK Gazette, News 9, Fox 25 News, and News OK. Welcome, Gregory. Gregory, you might be muted. Oh.
Okay, there we go. Can y'all hear me now? Okay, there we go.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
You're
I'm
fine.
on my phone. It's a lot different than the desktop. Thank y'all for having me. My name is Gregory II, born and raised in Oklahoma City. Created Poetry and Chill in 2017. I always am honest about how I started it. When I was starting Poetry and Chill, I didn't think it would be where I'm at today. I was being very cliche, like Netflix and chill. I was just trying to have fun. I was living in LA. I went to LA Film School. I was living in LA for 4 years. I moved back to Oklahoma City. When I moved back here, I felt that Oklahoma City per se was a blank canvas. It was open for so many ideas. So I created Poetry and Chill. When we first created it, we was just doing open mic nights. We did it for this, really was for me to start off just having a platform for me to perform, showcase my talent. We started on the east side of Oklahoma City in the shopping center by Bobo's Chicken. While we was starting, the popularity grew really fast. So within 5 to 6 months, we were having probably close to 300 people coming to our events locally. That popularity went to the colleges. We went to the University of Oklahoma in 2019. That was the first college that we ever did a show with. So when we go to the colleges, we bring our band, we bring our culture to the campuses up there. That sparked the idea to do a college tour. So since 2019, we've been to about 70 universities across the country. Every semester, we take our band, we travel, bring the culture here, or bring the culture to their campuses. We work directly with the organizations on campus, the Greeks and stuff like that. The coolest thing that we've done since we started Poetry and Chill is that popularity actually helped us help the youth and help our culture and help the society. So a lot of high school, middle school students were showing up to our events. We were doing like open mic night events, and I was hosting. I'm like, how old are you? And some of them would say 14, 16. I was like, how did y'all even hear about this? So to make a long story very short, Waylon Cubitt, he was Lieutenant Cubitt at the time. He was working with Back Mentoring Program. He reached out to me. I went to his event one time, and I was trying to be very discreet and hide out, but I had braids, so my hair was out. And he was like, hey, who are you? Why are you trying to hide from me? And so he comes up to me. He asked me, did I want to work with kids? Now, to be honest with you guys, in the beginning, I just started telling this story this year. I was kind of hesitant to work with kids. I was like, they're kind of mean and rude. I don't know if I want to step into that right now because I'm just an artist. I was just having fun. I never worked with kids before, but they were very drawn to me and our organization. So we started working with kids with Waylon Cubitt over at the center. He walked us into Douglas, Northeast. We started doing workshops. At that time, we didn't really target literacy or target social emotional learning. We were just doing it naturally until we started adding those components in. In the very beginning, until COVID, I didn't teach no kids personally. I was just sitting in the back. I was just the business guy. I would bring teachers on. I wouldn't even look up. I was like, I don't want to engage. I don't want to do any of that. When COVID happened, obviously people, was scrambling, everything was happening, and I had to step in and start teaching. I was more nervous to teach 10 students than I was to perform in front of hundreds and thousands of people, which I've done before. I was like, I don't know why I'm so nervous. I was nervous. I was shaking. I was sweating. I was like, why am I nervous? But when I did it, woke me up and made me realize that, sometimes when you're chasing one dream, you find another dream, you find your purpose in that. And it really helped me motivate me to actually invest my time into the youth, into the educational system. As we know, we have one of the worst educational systems in the country. And if it's, to me, in my opinion, if it's not about sports in Oklahoma, they kind of sweep it under the rug. So I was very adamant to pushing that. Around COVID, we was working with about 60 students across the city. Currently, right now, we work with 11,000. So it grew a lot within 3 years. We work directly with OKC PS District, Mid-Dale District, Putnam City District. We work at Cassidy Private School. We work at the Youth Homeless Centers, Pivot, CSU. We work at the Juvenile Center in Tecumseh. So it's grown a lot. We host talent shows for the kids. So we still bring our main element, the music side, the performance side to it, but we do focus on literacy. We work directly with the ELA teachers in the middle schools and high schools. We created a curriculum that fits the ELA academic standards, reading, writing, listening. We focus on the social emotional learning components as well. But we give the students an opportunity to express themselves. We're big on letting them tell people how they feel. I feel like a lot of people don't have a safe zone to speak and do any of that. So we give the students a safe zone to speak. It's grown tremendously. I didn't never know students would be engaged in this type of stuff. And it's like, I feel like low key, we're like tricking them into learning and reading and writing and expressing their feelings. We do it through music, we do it through poetry. And then they still see us travel the country. One night we'd be in Houston at Prairie View A&M, and then the next morning I'm in a 5th grade class. I'm like, wasn't you just there last night? So that type of energy and watching us has really helped us over the years. And this year, more than anything, we're just getting better. We're learning from our mistakes. We're trying to get more teachers and staff. So I'm very excited. I've been working with Arts Council for I think 3 years now, probably 4. They've helped with so many grants with us. Just before school started giving us funding, they were the ones helping us to get into the schools. And I didn't know anything about it. The teachers told me about it. They would fill out the application. So if it wasn't for them opening that door to us, we wouldn't have been able to get funding through the schools because the schools wouldn't be able to see what we're about. So that's just a kind of rundown of what we do. I'm very excited to be here. And if I have any questions, I'll be here to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. All right, we have one more speaker from our panel that we're going to hear from, and that is Nick Cottle. Nick Cottle is the All Access Arts Director at Arts Council OKC. The All Access Arts program runs 5 initiatives providing arts education and arts experiences to over 8,000 individuals at 40+ sites around the Oklahoma City metro area throughout the year. Before joining Arts Council OKC in 2017, he worked as a nonprofit consultant for a variety of organizations focused on building standard operating procedures, CRM systems training, and website management. Prior to his nonprofit work, he was operations coordinator for a locally owned and operated running store, where he shared his passion for running with the OKC community and helped a new business establish best practices and policies and procedure. He received his BA in anthropology from Oklahoma State University in 2010. Welcome, Nick.
I appreciate you guys having me. I figure every good panel has to have a nerd on it, so I'm hoping that I can do my job filling that role today. So I am the All Access Arts Director at Arts Council Oklahoma City. I like to think that what the state organization does, statewide, we can try to emulate here on a local level in Oklahoma City. Our big thing with All Access Arts is we provide visual and performing arts experiences and education opportunities to underserved schools, libraries, parks, and community agencies throughout the metro area. Real quick, I'll just go over the 5 programs, trying to get my notes together for this, trying to write it all out. I realized it was probably going to take a long time, so I'm just going to kind of hit some of the high points. Probably our most important program is going to be our Arts in Schools program. We provide teaching artist opportunities in 10 to 12 sites every school year, employing 8 to 10 teaching artists, and reaching anywhere between 700 to 1,000 students here in the Oklahoma City metro area. Depending on the year, it could be all OKCBS schools. It could be a combination of OKCBS and charter schools. We consider our relationship with Boys and Girls Club part of our Arts and Schools program as well. So just kind of a variety of sites there. Our next biggest initiative is the Creative Aging program. Our Creative Aging program focuses on not just the age demographic of 55, 60 plus. We actually focus on different types of assisted living facilities, memory care, assisted living, and then even a few retirement communities as well. So we try to make sure that we're reaching with our Creative Aging program that the ones that are the most vulnerable, that tend to be, those older individuals without family, things like that. We try and kind of keep the focus there. In addition to that, we run a teen arts council, which is comprised of 10 to 15 kids each year from high schools throughout the metro area and throughout Oklahoma County. With the Teen Arts Council, their big job throughout the year is essentially just to connect to the city in terms of the arts community. So we provide 10 to 12 arts education / arts experiences throughout the year at a variety of locations, and with different artists, just kind of depending on the year. In addition to those 3 initiatives, we got 2 more. We run in partnership with the Metropolitan Library System, we run the Neighborhood Arts Program. Big shout out to Gregory with Poetry and Trill. We had them as part of as one of the performing groups. Greg, you might correct me if I'm wrong. It was 2 or 3 summers ago. I feel like that COVID timeframe is just kind of a big blur. But we've worked with a variety of performers around the city, and in partnership with the library, it's really helped us kind of expand our reach and have access to not only different sites, but a wider variety of performing artists. The last initiative that we do every year is the Arts and Park program in connection with Oklahoma City Parks and Rec. About 3 years ago, yep. We work at about 8 to 10 recreation centers throughout the city over the summer, just providing a variety of arts-based experiences and educational programming. Every year is a little different, just kind of depending on each individual rec center and their schedule and all the other things they have going. Last thing real quick, thank you to everyone involved in this webinar. The organizers, the participants. Sometimes I feel like pursuing arts education and pouring yourself into arts education in Oklahoma can be a trying, kind of interesting experience. And we're all doing good work here. So I appreciate everyone. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Nick. And thank you to all of our panelists. We're so glad we were able to hear from you. I think next, we can move on to questions for our panel. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in Mended Meter now. And Jennifer, did you have a couple questions while we are waiting for those to start coming in?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Samantha, and thank you to all of our panelists, Regina, Randy, Gregory, and Nick. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love that each of you were able to speak to a different model of arts education and kind of a different process for getting involved. Even though the types of programming that each of you presented are very different from each other, they do share some things in common. I mean, of course, our focus here is arts education. Also, each of these projects and programs have grown and developed through some strategic partnerships, which I think is a really exciting way for growing your own practice. So while the questions are coming in, and you can ask questions, there's the Q&A box here on Zoom. There's also the Q&A function on your Mended Meter screen, so you can add your questions in either way. While those are happening, I'll just open this up to all of you, whoever would like to speak first. What advice would you offer to a teaching artist who is listening today and wants to know either how they can get more involved with your work or how they can do and start similar work within their own community?
I can start if you want. It took us a few years to get rounded out because, like I said, we're going into our 10th year with the school, and then ballet this is our 11th year with the ballet. But we started making relationships in the community. We started out going to Kiwanis Club and the Elks Club and the Business People's Club and sharing with them about our school. But one of the best connections we made was when we made friends with our superintendent, assistant superintendent of schools, because there's so much need, and we could literally be there year round in every single grade, but we don't have enough teachers in Pawhuska. And so they're so thankful for us, even though we only go like to the 3rd grade for a whole year. And that's all we can. We don't have enough teachers to do all the grades. But so don't get overwhelmed with that because you're one person or you're one group. But start out with the superintendent or assistant who's really opened the door for us to work and bring these teachers into the school system. And we've seen huge results. And I'll just give you a cute one. I mean, kids showing up at our school the first year, the parents didn't know what a dress rehearsal was. The kids didn't even know what ballet shoes were. The next year, because we've been in the school system, they came in doing little pirouettes, and it was emotional to see that we had brought to this little town of 3,500 people by going into the school system. They need you.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much. Anyone else have anything to say about this? Regina, would you like to talk about anything that may be happening with Art Tech?
Yes, I'll go ahead and answer your question and then also answer the question on the screen. So for our grant, it's a 5-year grant to work with schools that are expanding or have no fine arts access. So we've been able to work with 14 districts, 15 sites this year to provide fine arts programs in the 4 disciplines of visual art, drama, dance, and music. And so what we did is we actually hire teaching artists as part-time employees of the State Department of Education, and we train them and connect them with schools while trying to sort of build capacity so that when the end of the grant comes along, schools have found a way to maintain those fine arts programs that we sort of help them structure and scaffold and build. So we have about 14 teaching artists looking for more. We actually have a flyer that I'm going to try to share here if you can share out to the attendees. We are looking for more teaching artists for specific schools or for specific areas. But what we do is we train teaching artists and work with them throughout the year. Our art specialist, Brooke Gabb, who I believe is also joining us as an attendee, she supports our teaching artists throughout the year, and we provide curriculum that was developed by Oklahoma fine arts educators. We have sort of a PK-8 program and a high school course offering. So we're hoping to sort of sustain that. And the way we do that is right now we have the funding through the grant through USDE, but over time, schools also have access to their Title IV Part A funding or Title I funding sources to maintain and keep these programs going. So that's one of the things that we sort of really focus on is building school capacity while teaching artists or developing their programs, maybe hopping in on rosters through the Arts Council and other arts organizations, and learning how to leverage their dollars, their federal dollars, to hold a fine arts program. We've heard from many schools that it's expensive to fund, or it's hard to find. As Randy was saying, we did not foresee the teaching shortage to really sort of become so catastrophic, but it is. And where we know we're not replacing a fine arts educator, we are still fulfilling a need for a fine arts program in schools where there aren't educators available. So to sort of answer also your question, to give advice for teaching artists, we definitely recommend that they continue to join all of the rosters. Look for events like these. We find that sometimes the word of mouth can feel sort of like an exclusive practice, or an exclusive practice, but it's nice if we continue to have these sort of events where we're getting more out to the public, so teaching artists can find ways to connect. And learn more about, how would I have a conversation with the superintendent, or what should be my first step? That's one of the things that we sort of help teaching artists through. We do a lot of that work connecting and making partnerships with the schools. We also work with other partnerships like Chickasaw Nation, Osage Nation, University of Central Oklahoma's LX Studio helped us design the curriculum and our lessons that in a couple of years will be open and accessible for anyone. But we work with our partnerships to make sure that where we might need to help other people connect, we can do that and make those connections last, so that teaching artists have opportunities, schools get access to fine arts, and students benefit from that well-rounded education.
Great, thank you. I put a link in the chat to the Art Tech homepage on the State Department of Education. You can find a call for teaching artists there. So hop on it, folks.
I'm going to try to add my flyer too. If someone can get that across the way to the attendees, that would be great.
All right. We'll try to do that. If we aren't able to through this, we'll definitely send it out with the follow-up materials. So
wonderful.
Right. Let's see. Anyone else? I do see some questions are coming in. So let's see. I have been teaching art for the last 6 years and wondering what is the best way to establish more collaborations with more schools and organizations. That's a great question. I think that would be relevant to all four of the panelists. Does anyone want to speak? Maybe Nick or Gregory, you haven't answered a question yet?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in on this one. Honestly, try everything possible. I found that a lot of times in the Oklahoma City Public School District, just, again, with the nature of education in the state and the district in general, sometimes principals and administrators aren't necessarily really gung-ho about working with your own communication, planning, scheduling, arrangements, cost sharing, all of that sort of stuff. So we've actually made it part of our consistent procedures to always reach out to all of the art teachers at the locations as well, and tried to find any avenue that we could. We've even had a couple of families that are involved in some of our other activities mention us and bring us to a PTA meeting. So really, the best thing you can do is try all avenues. By no means am I trying to speak for the panel here, but I feel like a lot of arts organizations and arts educators are always going to be willing to take a look and listen to what you have to say. If they can't act on it, they're still going to do their best to try and get the word out there for you. But yeah, don't ever shy away from contacting anyone and everyone. And then the second thing would be always come into the conversation with some qualitative anecdotes about what you do as an arts educator and an artist, and also come in with some quantitative information too. I really like to work in that gray area between left and right brain stuff, creative and systematic. So being able to make an argument for what you're offering in both, kids you can serve, hours of availability, all of that sort of stuff, have that stuff on hand. So when they ask those questions, you have your answers ready.
Yes, and piggyback off of what Nick said, I do agree with that. Definitely trying everything. I was at a point where I would just principals, um, a lot of teachers will kind of reach out to me, and some of the principals would not write back on emails, wouldn't return my calls. So I was the type in the very beginning to just go in the school early in the morning and sit and wait for them to be available to speak to me. Now I know everyone doesn't have the time to do that. At that time, I did, so I would just sit there and kind of like, you're going to speak to me today. And when they did speak to me, one thing that a lot of them would do, we would speak about it, we would come up with all the ideas, and then they would disappear and kind of ghost me when it came to funding. One thing the advice that I have is that have a plan about funding, like Arts Council. When I started having information like, hey, we can apply for this grant, we can do stuff like that, it kind of took the weight off of a lot of principals back, because they're like, oh, okay, we don't have funding for this. So if you already have funding or have a way to get funding, then I would definitely present that to them and find someone that can advocate for your program in that school. Whoever it is a teacher, if it's a counselor, if it's an art teacher, whoever it is, find someone that can advocate for you and have those conversations that you can't have because you don't see those principals and administrators every day. So those are the things I think is definitely going above and beyond, doing what you need to do. But at the same time, when you do get that conversation with the principal or whoever you're speaking to, when it comes to funding and they don't have it, I would definitely have an option like Arts Council. And then the last thing, I almost slipped my mind, it was a lot of times that I did sample workshops for free. So I would just say, just let me come show you what I can do. And then I will have them sit in with me. And then they will sit in, a counselor, a teacher, a lead teacher, and they will be blown away like, oh my gosh, we do need this. So sometimes I always feel like we have to be willing as artists. We do everything, but we do a lot of things for free already. So it's not like this is new to us, but doing something for free and giving them the opportunity to showcase your talent and your gifts will be a great opportunity for you. So don't steer away from, I need to get paid. Think about, okay, if I do this free workshop for an hour, how would this benefit me if it does work? So that's kind of my opinion on that.
Thanks. Those are some great ideas from both of you. Thank you so much. All right, looks like we've still got more questions. Thank you guys. Keep those questions coming in that chat. Excuse me. So what qualities do you look for in a teaching artist? And I'm not sure if this question was directed to maybe Regina and Nick, who are kind of operating programs that use multiple teaching artists or what, but I think I'll direct this to the two of you.
Nick, do you want me to go first? Yeah. I'll go first. Okay, so well, we actually hire part-time. So we have in the flyer that you'll receive, we have the job posting that talks about sort of the things that we do in the day-to-day, monthly, our summer schedule versus our school schedule. But in general, I think that schools are really looking for folks that understand their communities, hopefully folks that are close to their communities and are interested in really being a part of their school. We do things that connect to family engagement as part of our grant. We try to add events like showcases, establish field trips and visiting artists. Again, this is all funded through our grant sources, but schools are really looking for students to really just have access. And I know when we first started, they said they'd take anything, but they would give us sort of a preference. And now we find that schools are really leaning into either the discipline they have or they are finding folks more locally. So I think really looking for schools in your area really helps with community building and establishing a stronger partnership. But then also, we're able to work with schools everywhere. So really establishing partnerships wherever we are. But that's something that I think that schools kind of sort of look to when they're looking for a teaching artist. Experience with students, work with like summer camps, flexibility. I'm thinking of specific teaching artists in mind that really have a good sense of being able to build lessons around students, and regardless of the ages or the students in the room, being able to sort of flex to the needs of the learner.
Yeah, essentially everything Regina said. So one of the things that we really look for, since we one of our main goals at the Arts Council is not just to meet the arts education and arts experience needs of our community, we also try and do our best to support artists. So a lot of times we get inquiries about just being a teaching artist, and then we go through a series of like after school quality standards, curriculum building, those sorts of things. So, you know, a lot of the things that we look for are just a strong interest in the teaching aspect as well as promoting your artwork. Sample lesson plans, like Regina said, some experience with the community. Like we have a longtime creative aging teaching artist who was kind of a perfect situation for us, had both, an artistic background as an artist and as a hospice care worker. So her experience in that environment has been tremendous for our program. She's been a great source of training for other teaching artists that are interested in working with that particular group of community members, but maybe doesn't have that sort of a background. So yeah, just a willingness to learn, some sample lesson plans. I always give out, I don't know if we can get this on there, Oklahoma quality standards, after school quality standards. Always come in, again, with being able to talk about how you operate as an artist, and then also how you operate as a teacher. And we really kind of look at both things and then see what we can do to get the artist wherever they're the best fit.
Thank you both. And I'll add to that as from our point of view with the teaching artist roster. I think that the two top things that we're looking for are experience. I mean, just to kind of echo what's been said here, experience as a teaching artist or as a teacher, like experience on the educational side. Both of you kind of mentioned that. And then also artistic expertise. We love to see strength on both the art side and the education side. And so, I think, I don't remember which of you said this, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a teaching certification, although that's wonderful. It could be a strong history of leading education programs where we can we see that you're working in a lot of different ways, and the flexibility, that's something we're always looking for. Part of our mission is expanding access to more Oklahomans. So another thing we're looking for is teaching artists that are willing to travel or to work with new audiences that they've never worked with before. So great stuff from you all on that. All right, are there any other, before we move on to the discussion time, are there any more questions that we didn't answer or that you have burning on your mind? No? All right, let's go ahead and move ahead, go back to the future, to the discussion time slide. And I think this is the point in time that please pull up your Mended Meter on your phone again.
Yes, now we're going to circle back to some of the questions that were answered at the beginning of this discussion, and see what new thoughts maybe have risen up through this discussion. So the next question on our Mended Meter is, what do you want people to know about working as a teaching artist? And this can be this can come through Mended Meter. You can answer it through Mended Meter, or our panelists, if you want to answer out loud, that's also fine. Yes, it's a very fulfilling experience. I have to agree. It has been a great learning experience, good lessons and flexibility. I'm submitting one too. Your art has value to your community, for sure. It's so unique. Probably one of the most unique jobs I've ever worked. For schools, teaching artists can become the heart of the school really quickly. So reliability is also a highly desired trait for schools. Oh, I can definitely testify to that. Sometimes that first year, if you're at a new site, really it's just about building that rapport with the administration, with the students, and then you showing them like that you're showing up week after week. That's when you really start to get to see some growth and some connections. Awesome. Thank y'all so much. It takes a lot of patience to keep control and fun in a room full of students. The teacher isn't always capable of helping. Get some ideas of callbacks and discipline games. Yeah, for sure.
That's a really interesting point. Would whoever entered that last comment about the discipline games, would you mind raising your hand so I can unmute you to say a word or two about that?
Hey, it's old Trey.
Hi, Trey.
Hi. Okay, so I've had several teaching artists come to my classroom. I teach elementary fine arts here at Tishmingo, and Patrick Riley is the one that my first one, and he came and he had some really interesting games to have the kids be the quietest in a group, or there were just so many like callbacks, and we use callbacks all the time in our schools. So it's like the clapping games, da 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 da, or something. They have to call back to you, and I'm loving it. Things like that, the kids say back and forth. It's always good to have those little things that calm the kids down, or just do some deep breathing things. And that really helps to just like breathe in through your nose, hold it in your head for a second, and then do that several times, let it out slowly. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff that really helps to maintain your calmness and the kids' calmness. Okay.
Thank you so much, Trey, for adding that. Let's see, Lori, you've had your hand up for a while. Do you have a question? Would you like to make a comment or a question, Lori Cook? I believe I've enabled your speaking ability. Maybe not. All right, we'll just keep moving on. There's a few more responses in the Mentimeter thing here. I love this one about students that didn't see themselves as artists, but then at the end of the program feel like they've become an artist. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and this last one, teaching can be challenging, but it can also be a source of inspiration for your personal artwork. They feed each other in a positive way.
Great.
I 100% agree with that.
All right, shall we move on to the next?
We shall. Let's see. Next question, how can sites or presenters best support your work as an artist? So kind of the flip of what we were talking about earlier of like how do we as teaching artists form the connections with the schools? What are things that you as teaching artists would like to see the schools doing, or any site, doesn't have to be a school if you're working with creative aging or another community? How can those communities better support you as an artist? Communication. Definitely agree.
Anything else here? I know you guys have got some thoughts about this. We'd love to know. Maybe not. But I think we've got, oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say, I've got one thing I could add on this while other people are maybe typing their stuff out. One thing that we kind of really make an effort with our relationships with sites and teaching artists is that if we have a particular situation where a teaching artist might express interest in working with us, but is a little bit hesitant of a classroom and may have just enough experience to be a good fit, but may still be a little bit nervous about it. One thing we work into our independent contractor agreements with the schools in the scope of work is that there's some sort of additional support from the school, whether it be just an extra person in the classroom full-time during the art lessons. If it's, a teacher that's assigned as a liaison that they can immediately, go to for jumping in to help out with, disciplinary issues, things like that will come up. Don't hesitate from getting involved with this sort of stuff, because each site is always going to be a little bit different. Each principal and each school situation is going to approach it differently. So you can get worked in a lot of actual classroom support, and that's something that we try as much as we can to provide.
I'd like to piggyback off of that. We try to do that as well with our grant during sort of summer training, and then we have like an art specialist check-in each month when we can't do sort of like a monthly check-in one-on-one. And we have what we call like on-site leads at the school site. And those teachers in theory, and we hope also in practice, are sort of like their liaison to help. Sometimes we'll have, because we have sort of like a school year or a year-long program, students that have exceptional needs or need accommodations and modifications. So I highly recommend where arts organizations and groups like ours can provide that sort of liaison assistance to make sure that we're able to support all students to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Regina and Nick. Whoever shared the callback video on Mended Meter, could you also share it in the Zoom chat so that we can save that link? Thank you. I'll read a couple more comments here. Provide discipline. Networking, more opportunities to collaborate. Encourage on-site teachers to give feedback and even participate. Oh, I love that. Schedule fully. Whoever answered with, whoever gave that answer, could you elaborate a little bit more? Do you mean like just more classes in a day? Or are you like finding yourself driving to a site and only teaching like one class and then you're done and you'd rather teach multiple classes? That's my guess at what schedule fully means. If you want to elaborate further, you can do it in Mended Meter or raise your hand. Trey Hayes.
It's me again. I've had so much success with these residencies here in my school that I've learned a lot from each one of them, and how to, they need and also I'm helping other schools in my area get residencies, and they are the resident artist. I'm bringing one in from Georgia, actually. They have to provide a schedule that is fully prepared for them to be in there, and or else it just kind of goes awry. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of having these people here, is to provide that full time what they're going to get the kids and everything, just to have it ahead of time. So that's all I meant.
Awesome. Thank you, Trey. Okay, we are coming down to the wire with our time. So I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead. Anything else on our minds? I'll just give you just a few seconds here for this one, then we'll start wrapping things up. But anything that we haven't discussed yet today that has been burning a hole in your pocket?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Trey mentioned about the teaching artists coming in with maybe not a fully prepared schedule and lesson plan laid out. As part of our teaching artist contract agreements, we definitely require all of those lesson plans and all of that information. And we, routinely review it on a monthly basis. So it's not so much that we're going in there with a hard critique of every lesson that they put forward. It's just we're trying to, build up that teaching artist, as a teaching artist. So we just kind of talk about at the end of each month, just kind of go through the lesson plans. And if there's anything that we have any issues or concerns about, we address them. Or, they could be like Sam's lesson plans, and they're just perfect and heavily detailed every time, and it's never an issue. So.
My gosh, I'm blushing. I learned to write really good lesson plans through Arts Council. Y'all had a really good format, a base for me to jump off of. So thank you for that. I have muted myself, sorry. Anything else before we wrap up? All right. Oh, I see one thing in the chat. Oh, thank you, Trey Hayes. You posted the YouTube link for the callback, the call and response. Thank you for that. All right, let's start wrapping up. Oh, we could touch on this. We just have a few minutes, but where do you see, just curious, where do you see arts education in Oklahoma heading in 5 years? And this can be just like one word describing. Where do you think arts education is headed? Do you think it's going to expand? Do you think it's going to maybe not expand? Do you think it'll stabilize? Do you think it'll start to move more towards in person? Do you think virtual will still be a big component of arts education in 5 years? It'll be more or less? And just throw out some words real quick. I'll just give you maybe 60 seconds for this one. Forward, love it. Innovating, okay. Steadfast. More available. Ooh, I love that. Media arts, yes. I definitely see that. Legislative funding. Here for it. Evolving, more available. It depends. Sustained. Love it. Thank you all. All right, we're going to keep moving. Last slide. What is one, let's end on a high note, people. What is one new resource or idea that has inspired you today in your arts education practice? This can be a speaker you heard from, an idea that was discussed, anything, just throw it out there. What are some things that we've learned today that have been inspiring and you can take as you're moving forward in your arts education practice? Nick at Arts Council OKC. I will be contacting him. You know more than you think you know. Love the quote about finding a dream while chasing a different one. Oh, yes, that was from Gregory. Chase the dream. Yeah, chase the dream in the first place and then be flexible when it maybe takes you down a different path. You don't have to know everything at first. You learn by doing. Absolutely. Very good. Anything else? We had a couple of shout outs too. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can get in the chat. We had a couple of shout outs in the chat. Your art has value to your community. Yes. Oh yeah, there it is on the Mended Meter too. I love that. Educational experience does not necessarily mean classroom teaching experience, because we've seen today there are many different models. Willingness to learn. Flexibility. Try everything possible. Don't get, oh, this was from Randy Tinker Smith. I'm still reading from the chat. Sorry, I'll jump back to the Mended Meter in a second. Randy Tinker Smith said, don't get overwhelmed if you can't do everything. Start where you can. And then here's the direct quote from Gregory. Sometimes when you're chasing one dream, you find another. Love it. Love it all. Chase the dream. Regina, looking forward to connecting and learning more about opportunities. Think outside the bubble. Yes. All right, well, we are right at time. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. Thank you all so much for coming. We'll have a recording of this meeting and presentation slides will be shared soon. And we also asked when you were registering if it would be all right to share your contact information with other webinar attendees. And our goal with that is just to create more connections, more networking. So anyone that you have heard from today, you'll have their contact information as well as other attendees. So feel free to reach out to each other so we can have those collaborations that we talked about. Let's see.
I want to echo those thanks from Samantha. Thank you so much to our four panelists for presenting everything you've learned, being so generous with your time, your experience. Really appreciate it. I know the attendees got a lot out of what you had to say, and thank you to the attendees. Thank you for making the time to be here. I hope that some of you are making connections, making plans based on some of the things that we've heard. And I will be sharing out panelist and OAC staff contact information along with the attendee information whenever that recording of the webinar is available. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, here's some of our staff members who spoke today. You remember Chandra, our deputy director, who offered a welcome at the outset. Me, who's been talking. Erica, who is in charge of our arts, learning, and communities programs, including creative aging, arts in the military. She's got that webinar coming up on April 21st. And of course, Samantha Haynes, Arts Education Assistant Extraordinaire. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to connecting with you in the field, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.